Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've spoken about Jordan Peterson or reacted to any of his content, so that's what we're going to do today. Before I go on, please do leave a like on the video, comment on the video, share the video, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Let's go.
So my question is, as a redeemed progressive, what is the key to empowering men in the Metoo age while maintaining healthy boundaries and strong behavioral expectations?
We've had relatively reliable birth control since 1960.
Wow.
Okay. That's not very long.
Oh, okay.
And
It's
we
not?
underestimate the unbelievable technological triumph of birth control. It's the hydrogen bomb. It's the transistor. Like, it's a major league
transformation technology
in human interaction.
It's true.
Women are now free from involuntary reproduction. That's never been the case in the entire history of the planet. Okay, we don't know exactly what to do about that. Okay, so the first idea in the 60s was, hell, let's party. And you could see why. It's like, what the rules for not engaging in promiscuous sexual intercourse seemed to have vanished. So we had a couple of decades of experimentation. It's like, well, how'd that go?
Interesting.
Little hard on the family, I would say.
Of course, yeah.
That's not so good for kids. AIDS,
Oh,
that
yeah.
wasn't a plus. Could have killed us all. And it mutated, particularly to take advantage of promiscuous sex, because viruses are very tricky things. So it turns out that sex is a little bit more complicated than we thought. Well, it actually turns out that it's a lot more
It's a lot complicated. Yeah,
Okay, now
that's true.
it's 50, 60 years later, and we're trying to sort this out. It's like, well, when is it okay to have sex? Exactly. And when is it not okay to have sex? And what does it mean that it's okay? And what does consent mean? And the answer to that is, well, we never used to have to think these things through, because the rule was, don't have sex until you get married.
Yeah.
That was the rule.
Now
that isn't the rule. Okay, so what's the rule? Well, we're not having a conversation about the rule. We're waiting until someone does something that seems like it might be untoward, and then mobbing them and trying to extract the rule out that way. And it's not a very effective way of doing it. You want to decrease campus rape? That's easy. Get rid of alcohol. No one has that conversation. It's like, I did my PhD work on alcohol. 50% of the people who are murdered are drunk.
Wow.
And 50% of the people who kill them
Are drunk. Wow.
Almost all the date rape situations are
Drunk.
consequences of excess intoxication. But yet there's a
That's
party
interesting.
culture on campuses, and anything goes. And you also have this strange thing, especially on the radical left, which is unbelievably paradoxical, where absolutely every form of sexual expression imaginable is 100% permissible.
It's okay,
because
yeah.
sex is fine, but
Do
it's
it.
so dangerous that while you're dancing with someone at a Princeton mixer, you have to ask them 2 or 3 times if it's
It's
okay for
okay,
you to
yeah.
continue.
Consent. This is
And
really
that's
deep,
actually
guys.
the case, by the way. I'm not making that up.
This guy is really
Well,
deep.
both of those things can't be true. Now, what's happening, I think, on the Me Too end of things and the affirmative consent end of things is the old sexual taboos are reasserting themselves. The idea that we can extract sex out from emotional intimacy, and especially emotional intimacy, I would say, psychological intimacy, maybe even from long-term relationship, I don't believe it's a tenable idea. I don't think we can do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we're seeing is
Yeah, we're seeing the results of it right now.
it's like, well, I feel used, because one of the things that's happening
Yeah,
on
because
the really
people are just
radical
having sex with whoever now, but they can't find happiness.
movement is the idea that, well, if you have intercourse with someone and then you regret it the next day,
Right?
that's evidence that it wasn't consensual.
Consensual.
It is, in a sense, evidence that it wasn't consensual. because it's evidence that you didn't bloody well think it
Think it
through.
through,
right?
yeah,
It was
because there was
good for
no
last night, but
commitment.
it's not good for today. It's not very wise. The question is, well, what constitutes consent? And we need to have a very
This guy's
serious
really
conversation about that. Like, under what circumstances is it acceptable to give consent? But we're not mature enough to have that conversation. We want it both ways. We want to be able to do whatever we want, whenever, with whoever we want, whenever we
And
want.
no
with
consequences.
No consequences.
I love it.
And we want there never to be any trouble about consent. It's like, well, no, that's not going to happen.
Impossible.
I don't think that sex works very well outside of committed relationships.
Definitely.
I don't think there's any evidence that it does.
Ask all the ladies that have
Proclivity across
that are
cultures
struggling to connect
for the enforcement
or get married or enter any relationship.
long-term monogamy. And there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
And I think you deviate from that at your peril.
Your peril, yeah, I agree with
So
that.
now, if you want
Whatever
to
you,
deviate
if
from
you
that,
choose
there's
to,
all sorts of
which you're
reasons
free
do
to,
it. And I can understand why people are interested in adventure and all of that. But, my sense also as a clinician is, you only really get to try out about 5 people in your life. You have to make a decision pretty damn quick. Like between 20 and 30, there's a lot of things to get straight, and long-term mate is usually one of them. And most of the time,
guys, remember I was saying by 30 you should have chosen your mate.
with their sexual behavior when they're young, especially when they're drunk, than they are. And I just think it's so interesting that all of the taboo reconstruction is coming from the radical left. It's not what you'd expect at all. You'd think it'd be the damn right-wing Christians complaining about, sexual immorality. It's like, no, it's the radical lefties. You have to have signed consent before making any physical move. And then that's so what? Really? Who thought that up? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You know how awkward that would be? You're supposed to be able to do a little bit of nonverbal reading, right? I mean, that's part of romance.
Wait, so is this a thing now in terms of signed consent?
Exchange consent notes? Like, that doesn't happen. So it's an unrealistic solution.
All right,
But I
okay.
think the real solution is that despite the fact that we have reliable birth control, we're going to have to relearn what the acceptable rules of propriety are with
sex.
regards to sexual relationships.
Yeah.
One of the things I often tell my
Because
young
we don't want it
clients
under the
is don't
marriage,
do anything physically with anyone that
restriction,
you wouldn't
I
talk
guess.
to them about. Because if you're too damn embarrassed to talk about it, well, maybe it's a little premature in the relationship to actually do it. And then there's harm in it. There's emotional harm in it on both parties. There's the cheapening of both parties. So it's going to take us a long time to sort this out. But hopefully we can do it in a serious manner, and it won't be merely a matter of mobbing those who seem to have made an error.
Every time I listen to this man, it's like he wakes up my brain. He's really, really deep. And a lot of the things that he went through just now, I've never thought of them in that way. So we all know this is happening. We know that the sexual revolution is going on. We know people are having sex with anyone, wherever, whenever. We know there's damage in it. We know that no matter what anybody tells you, or the people who are like, yeah, I don't care, I'm living my best life, they come to regret it in the end. They come to a point where they either regret it and become remorseful, or they block it out and lean into it even more, trying to cover up their latent emotion based on what they are feeling, based on what they've done. So we know there's damage in it. But the way he relayed it was just deep. My brain is like, wow, this man, just going from just talking about the fact that people didn't want the restriction of marriage before being sexually active, and then now going into the revolution of technology around birth control and how that's given man even more freedom, especially women, because now they don't have to have the restriction that they had before, which was that if you have sex, you probably will get pregnant. Now they can just have birth control and not get pregnant, which kind of released them into this new world of just going, wow, I can be like a man now. I can have sex anytime I want and I don't have to get pregnant. And that led to where we are now, where we have all manner of sexual stuff going on. People pretending as if they're not affected, but then eventually come out and say they are affected. People not being able to pair bond, people not being able to get into relationship, marriages going down, divorce rates are up. These things are being caused by, it could be something as minuscule as the fact that people don't want to wait till marriage. It could be literally because of that. I don't want to wait till marriage. Everybody goes off on their own and starts exploring on their own outside of marriage. And that one thing causes this massive generational damage. This was an interesting video, guys. I can't even quantify my thoughts on it, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of what he was saying? I'm sure there's more to the video, but that's all I could find, because I think he probably goes on to answer, I think the lady was asking about how men should conduct themselves during the Metoo movement, but he kind of went into explaining how technology has changed everything. So I'm sure he went on to finally conclude her question. But what do you guys think of what he was saying? What do you guys think about the technology that's revolutionized our sexual behavior towards each other? What do you think of how it affects children? What do you think of those who lean into the sexual revolution? What do you think of the restriction of marriage? Should that be a thing? I know only Christians are still operating within that. However, should that be a thing? Should that be something that returns? Or do you think people should just be free to have sex whenever they want, however they want, and with whomever they want to? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching me react to this video. If you enjoyed my reaction, leave a like, sub to my channel, and leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next reaction.